All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bashim Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And honor and salutations to those of you who are of the hopeful elect and are out there teaching the word in sincerity and truth. All right, so we talked about this yesterday at camp. We actually read Revelations, the 7th chapter, which I'll get into in just a minute. But we talked about that mixed multitude that no man could number, and that being of course, the Israelite foreigners that would come out of every nation. And as I was on my phone this morning, the live popped up from the elder apostle Ramlab. Let me see if I can find it so I can say the title of the video. Yep. Vocab Malone. The Israelites look like every nation under the sun. And so I said, you know what? Since it's on my mind, and since the elder apostle Ramlab is doing this show, which I would recommend to go watch, I would come out and add my 2 cents as well. So since talking about it, so we were together Saturday night watching a little bit of college football there, and what's the young man's name? His name is Avery Johnson. Boom. So you got this young man here, Avery Johnson, who at first glance looks like a so-called white boy, right? He is the quarterback for Kansas State. Pretty good. Got a good arm on him. But we were with the elder bishop, but not Zach. And he said he played like a Jake, and it just so happened that they were talking about him at the time. That they were that he said that. Excuse me. That he said that, and so the elder Adama looked it up, and the young man's father is Jake. So they were talking about this guy because he got the same name. But look at him. He, if you had to guess, you would say that that's a young so-called white kid, right? But let me see how I can do this here. Parents. All right, here we go. Avery Johnson parents, right? So that's his father, right? See if I can just do like this. I don't want to zoom. But that's his pop right there. This guy right here. That's his pop and that's his mom. You see? So we're gonna have Israel, and this is just one generation, right? You got father here, you got son there. This is one generation. So imagine, generation after generation after generation, so forth and so on. And they kind of looking at the mom. She might be a Jake too. Just looking at her here, she might be a Jake too. But you again imagine this happening generation after generation after generation. Let's say this young man here. Pardon me, I keep yawning so long. This young man here ends up, let's say, with a so-called white woman who he has children with, right? Then that child is going to be even lighter, so to say, right? And so being an Israelite is not based on how you look, right? We can talk about there was just that documentary that Kyrie Irving posted, and it was I forget what the name of the documentary is. It escapes me right now, but they spoke about phenotypes, which a phenotype is just basically to say how somebody looks. Let's look that up real quick. I don't know how to spell it really. Yep, that's okay. So phenotype is the term used to describe the observable characteristics of an organism, including its physical appearance, behavior, and biochemical properties, right? And so you can't really look at Israel and say, this is how an Israelite looks, right? Based on their phenotype, right? Because over time and through history, due to diaspora, due to slavery, our people look like all kinds of things, right? So let me go here since I'm thinking of this. I think it's, I don't know if I'm spelling it right. I don't think so. Let's see. Let's just go here. Speckled bird. Jeremiah 12 and 9. Jeremiah 12. So you go to Jeremiah 12 and 9 here. It says, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field, come to devour, right? So our people are going to come looking like all different kinds of things, right? All different kinds of nations, I should say, right? And we've, of course, been teaching this, for a long time, right? And so when you go here, right, I got another one I want to talk about. Let's go Blake Griffin son. Let's do that. So Blake Griffin is an NBA player, or a former NBA player. I don't know if he's retired as of right now, but this is him here. And this is his child's mother, right? And look at their son, right? Right, so that's him, and that's his kid, right? That's his kid. Look, got blonde hair and everything. You see? Let's see if we can find some pictures of the mom. Here she go, right? So you see the baby look blonde, right? But let's show you something. Let's see if they got anything down here. No, I'm gonna show you. Blake Griffin, father. Boom. That's the father. And I believe he's a so-called Haitian, Levite. But that's their father. That's the brother there, right? But that's their dad, and there go their mom, right? So you imagine this generation after generation. You take Blake Griffin's son, right? Let's go. Where is he at? You take his son. Let's say he grows up, right, and becomes an adult, and he gets married. Look at him. He becomes an adult, gets married to another so-called white woman, right? Somebody that looks like his mom, right? Or, reminds him of his mother, right? That baby gonna come out looking just like that, right? So you imagine this generation after generation after generation. What you're gonna get is people and their phenotypes starting to change, right? This is why the scriptures tell us to try the spirit, right? You look at a man the way they behave rather than the way that they look, right? So let's go through some of these scriptures here a little bit to show that this is always been, matter of fact, I'm gonna go to one of my go-tos. And I've probably done this recently, but it doesn't matter. I'll do it again tomorrow if I have to. Let's go to Esther chapter 1. This is one of my go-to scriptures, right? Because it speaks to something that I think is undeniable, right? No matter what walk of life you come from, no matter what school of thought, this is undeniable, right? So it says, this is Esther 1:1. It says, now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even into Ethiopia, right? Over in 107 provinces, right? So let's open up another one of these. Let's go, let's say, Ahasuerus Kingdom. Images. Right? So boom. From India, right? It's Ethiopia, right? So he, boom, that's a good one too, right? Over all of these lands, he ruled, right? All of these lands here, okay? And so, as the story ensues, right, when you read Esther, matter of fact, you might be able to go to the 3rd chapter, and it might get into those letters down at the bottom here. Boom. So this is Esther 3:12, right? It says, then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. Right? Remember that. To every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring. Right? So what were these letters? Hey, let's go up a little bit, see if it speaks to it a little bit. Boom. Let's go up to 8 here. It's Esther 3:8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered. this is good, right? So there's a certain people scattered abroad, right? Oh, let's go do it like that. Scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, right? So there is a certain people, right? So let's see what this word certain says, right? Ahad or ahad, right? I think that's how you say one, as a matter of fact. Let's see what this is. One way or another. One, right? So this is how you say one in Hebrew. Achad, like when you say Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Allah Achad. I think that's how it goes. Meaning the Most High is our power, and He is one, right? So one, right? So there is one people, right? There is one people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces, right, of thy kingdom. And their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries, right? So you think about this, right? All of these letters being written, right? Let me see what stuck out to me here. Boom. That let's read 12 again. Now that we know what these letters were about. It says, then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people of their language. And the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring. Right. So that's a lot of work, right? You think about this, right? You got this letter that's being written, but now you got to write it or have it written in all of these different languages because Ahasuerus ruled over provinces that spoke other tongues, right? So you had to hire interpreters, right? You had to hire these people to have these letters delivered, right? So this was big business here, right? A lot of moving parts was going on, right? And these letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is in the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey, right? So you had all of these Jews, right, or Israelites that were in all of these lands. How did they get there? What were they doing there? What language were they speaking when they were there? If one single letter had to be written in a different language for each of these provinces to understand, wouldn't you surmise that the Israelites that were there, or any people that were there really, would be speaking that language as well? Right? It says this: the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The posts went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace, and the king of and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. Like, what the fuck? Where's this coming from? Right? Those people don't do nothing bad to us. We don't got no problem with them. Why we got to kill them? Right? So these letters were sent out. The point here being that these letters were sent out. They were turned or interpreted into other languages and then sent to all of these different provinces, right? So our people were in these different lands, right? Another point here. Let's see. Oh, right here. Yep. Boom. All right. Acts 18 and 2. Start at 1. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth, right? And found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, right? He was a Jew born in Pontus, right? Let's look this up. Search Google for Pontus, right? Boom, right? Pontus, Asia Minor. You see? So he was born here, away from his holy land, away from the Holy Land, I should say. This is north of Israel here, right? This is where he was born, Asia Minor. Okay? So let's go back. Lately, come from Italy, right? With his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, right? So not only was this man born in Pontus, but he was in, let's go back, Rome, which is here, right? And if Claudius, and you can look this history up, I think it's Augustus. Claudius here is Augustus Caesar. And you can look up this history. So he was here, right? In Italy, right? But they were where were they? In Corinth, right? He said when he came to Corinth, right? Let's go here. From Athens, we know Athens is in Greece, right? Corinth. Let's look up Corinth. Let's do that. Ancient Corinth. Images. Corinth. Right? Right here. Corinth. Right? Which this is Greece. Right? Which is further west. Oh, here we go. Which is further west of Pontus, right? So he was in Rome, here in Italy, right? They were in Corinth, right? But this guy was from Pontus, which is further east, or from Pontus, right? But as the scripture says here, he was a Jew, right? So if you look at, let's go back, right? I should have kept this one open, and oh, maybe I did. Where is it? Where is it then? Right here. So if you look at this, these are the lands that Ahasuerus ruled over, and here would be Pontus, right here, right? And if you go in Corinth, if this thing wasn't here, Corinth would be over here somewhere. Okay, so these kinds of things are really simple to look into, right? You just look them up, right? It says, and again, you can look up this history. This will also be in secular history, where the Jews were expelled from Italy, right? So you can look that up. So it says that because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome. So what were they doing there, right? Another scripture in Acts, Acts 11, right? Because of Christianity and in a lot of misinformation that has been taught secularly, people think that all the Jews were in Judea or in Israel. All the Elamites were in India. All the Ishmaelites were in Arabia, right? But no, you're not beholden to a land, right? The land of, as we always say, gets its name from the people that are there, right? But you're not beholden to that land. Just like there are thousands upon thousands of people here in the Americas that are not native to America. You have Chinese people here. You have Japanese people here. You have Cape Verdeans. You have Greek. You have all these different people that are from all of these different lands, right? Here in the Americas, they're not native here, right? They weren't there. Maybe their parents weren't born here. Maybe they weren't even born here, but they live here, right? You're not beholden to a land, right? You might go to a land for work. You might go to a land, like in case of like a lot of Issachar come back up here for work opportunities, right? I know I grew up, here on the East Coast of Massachusetts. A lot of so-called Cape Verdean people, they came over here back in the late 1800s uh, for the whaling industry, right? Here, especially here in the East Coast of Massachusetts, they were the whaling industry, and they because they were in the islands of Cape Verde, they already were let's say heavily into that industry. So they came over here to the Americas when the whaling industry, when they were taking the fat and what they call blubber from the whales and using that for candles. So the whaling industry was big business back then. So they came over here for that work, right? So you can go to any land for anything. You don't have to be in a land because that is your nationality, right? But secular history and Christianity together make people think this. And so when we tell the people that the Israelite foreigners were dispersed in all the lands, or when it says Greek, or when it says Gentile, when it says stranger, when we say those things that they're talking about Israelites, people are perplexed because they don't know this history. They don't know these little bits and pieces of history, and they really um, didn't delve into, let's say, what the scripture is actually saying, right? So, case in point, when you go to Acts, the second chapter here, right? There was a young lady that we had got into it with uh, recently, or the most recent person we got into it with. We were reading this to her, and she knew the scripture, and she riddled a lot of it off, right? But when you get down to the, let's say, the nuts and bolts, as Elder Adama would say, when you get down to the details, right? she didn't understand it, and she could hear me trying to speak these things to her, right? But then she would ask another question, and the question wasn't different from the gotcha from the initial question that um that she asked, but she would reframe it as though her reframing the question was going to make the answer be different, right? There's a gross misunderstanding of the scriptures because a lot of this history doesn't get delved into, right? And it's right here in the scriptures. I mean, you can go into secular history, right? But I would advise that you use the scriptures as, let's say, like if you were walking in the dark and you needed a flashlight. I would say you use the scriptures as that flashlight to guide your way through secular history, to guide your way through what you learned in Christianity, right? But you really don't need secular history because there's a lot of the history that was documented here um, in the scriptures, right? So let's go to Acts 2 and 5 here. It says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, right? So we know 3 times in a year our people had to go to Israel, right? And I always get these wrong. I thought I had it written down up here and I left it up here, but I guess I didn't. So let's do this so we can get it right. 3 days in a year where Jews returned. I should get like a short list right up here. Boom. Passover, Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles, right? So these are the 3 days that our people had to go back to Jerusalem, right? And this just so happened to be one of them, which was Pentecost, right? Or the Feast of Weeks. So you got here, it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven, right? So these were Jews, right? And it tells you what kind of men they were, devout men, and it tells you where they were from, out of every nation, right? So you go here to it says, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue wherein we were born? Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and in Cappadocia and Pontus, right? Which is where Aquila was from, right? And Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, and Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues. Keep that in mind. Again, what was I reading before? I can't remember what scripture it was, but keep that in mind, right? The wonderful works of the Most High. And they were all amazed and were in doubt, saying one to another, what meaneth this? Like, what's going on here, right? And why were they speaking in other tongues, in other languages, right? We read it. I took it away. Let's go back to it real quick. Right? It'll tell you right here. It says, that's what I was reading, right? After their language, right? Those letters had to be written in the languages of those provinces. Okay? So when you get to Revelation 7 here, right? It talks about the 144,000, right? And it mentions from each tribe 12,000, right? But then it gets down to here and it talks about a multitude, right? So what you understand, if you understand, right? You have here the 144,000, which is the leaders of the nation, the governing body of the nation, right? That multitude is your regular citizens, right? So you're going to have a ruling body, right? A governing body, and then you're going to have the citizens of the nation, right? But he's telling them, he's saying, look, you see those people over there? Who are they, right? So let's read a little bit of this. This is verse 9. It says, "After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations," right? "And kindreds, and people, and tongues." You see? So this is why it was saying this. Our people were dispersed in all of these different lands, man. Our people were everywhere. Okay? It says, "Stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb. And all the angels stood round about the throne, and about the elders and the four beasts, and fell before the throne on their faces, and worshipped the Most High, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our power forever and ever. Amen. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation. Right? Who came out of great tribulation? Right? I got a couple of scriptures here for that. Let's see. Boom. This is Jeremiah 50:33. It says, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives, right, held them fast. They refused to let them go. So all of those places where we were captives there, and they didn't let us go. You got people that are Elamites today that might claim Elam heavy, right? That they don't even have a recollection or an understanding that they're not Elamites, that they're indeed Israelites, right? So let's keep going. Let's keep going here. Where was I? I wanted to go back to Revelation and look up this word tribulation so you can see that. That's why I pulled out that oppressed there from Jeremiah. Tribulation. I think this was it when I looked it up. Yes. A pressing together, right? Pressure. Metaphorically, oppression, affliction, tribulation, distress, straits, right? And which nation of us was put in oppression? The nation of Israel, right? We were oppressed together, right? Got another one here. Yep. Matthew 11:12, and it says, And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. So this is talking about us, man. It's talking about the nation of Israel, right? So let's keep going here. Where was I? Yep, right here. It says, These are they which came out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb, right? It says, Therefore are they before the throne of the Most High, and serve him day and night in his temple, and he that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, right? Neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them into living fountains of waters, and the Most High shall wipe away his tears from their eyes, right? So again, these things are simple, right? It's almost as though we're being debated. Right? Or people are arguing with us on these things based on the dogma and not on the scripture. They're basing it, they're arguing based on what they've learned in the church and not what the scriptures say, right? Because the scriptures are quite clear on it. And we didn't know it either at one point in time, right? We didn't learn it or know it either, but we had to learn. We had to learn these things. But once you get into the scriptures and you start learning them, you go, oh, well shit, this was never about the other nations. This was never about the whole world, right? And then you start getting into the history, right? You start getting into supporting documents, and you realize that it like again, that it was never meant for the whole world. It was only meant for the children of Israel and their redemption, right? And then once they are redeemed and set up in their power, they will rule the other nations or the rest of the world, right? So that's it, man. Hopefully that was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai Bashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Honor salutations to the elect. With that, I say shalom.